Perfect. Right, broadcast is live. Amazing. So, all my notes are on my phone. Morning, everyone. Welcome to NatWest Accelerator in Milton Keynes. My name is Sonia Barlow, and we are live here with a wonderful panel and a live audience, which is exciting, to talk all things balance, burnout, and just taking time off over the summer. I don't know about you, but I personally am exhausted. I'm exhausted being the token brown woman. I'm exhausted running a D&I platform. I'm exhausted having to show up online. I'm exhausted figuring out how to run a business whilst managing a TikTok account, whilst managing people now globally, and then trying to figure out how you are evolving as a person in terms of identity. So for those who haven't met me, I run the Like-Minded Females, aka LMF Network platform. We started in 2018 as a brunch club. Ironically, no one showed up to brunch, so that's our claim to fame. But we carried on going. In 2019, we were doing events and workshops. In 2020, the pandemic hit. And you know what? I think I just went into full force. I didn't quite know what I was doing, but I did a little bit of everything. But I was like, what am I good at? I'm good at building a community. I'm good at bringing people together. I have confidence. I understand how the system doesn't support inclusion. And most importantly, I know that people want to focus on careers and upbuilding and upskilling. So we launched a consultancy and a careers platform. In the last 2.5 years, we've upskilled over 20,000 people, pretty much all for free across 84 countries. We've launched the UK's largest mentoring programs. We mentored 1,000 people across 24 countries with a 98% success rate. And I've done over 50,000 hours of diversity inclusion services, end-to-end strategy consultancy. Personally, I'm now at a point where I'm tired and I don't know what the next steps are. And I think that's why we wanted to have this panel today. So if you're joining us online, which I'm sure most of you are, send in your questions, send in your comments. We'll go through and we'll read them, and we'll just make sure that we get everyone involved, because this is a really important conversation to have, and it's just the start of our conversation. And so on that note, you've heard a little bit about me. I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves because they can do it so much better than I can. And my first question for you all as panelists, whilst you are introducing yourself, is that burnout is a hot topic right now, but what does it mean for you? What does the word burnout mean for you? And if you've suffered burnout, how has that changed your direction, your sense of direction, be that in yourself and your identity or your business or your hustle or the way that you show up in life? So if I start this end and go that end, and remember, you can speak to the audience here, and audience please do get involved as well, and then people that are online as well.
Thanks, Sonia. Nice to meet you all. I'm Lucy Galwa, and I'm an IT and technology consultant of many years. Answering your question, yes, sadly, I've suffered burnout twice in my life, and once in my career, a few years back. And it was understandably and not surprisingly when I was involved in a very big corporate career, very high pressured, in London in the banking industry. Flying around the world, it was all the classics, ticked off in a male-dominated industry as a young woman. It was literally just the classic, too many pressures. What I learned, luckily, I suppose for me, I had my daughter, and it was only when I stopped to go on to maternity leave and then ended up with double pneumonia, I realised how burnt out I was, and obviously trying to look after a baby at the same time. And it was a massive life lesson to me. So I chose to take some time out, drop the corporate career, turn my back on it, and really threw myself headlong into the nurturing role. And I think my daughter is the one that made me and helped me discover myself. So I was supposedly mothering her, but I think actually she mothered me. And I think it was a rebirth for both of us. Yeah, it was. It's important. I think for many women, it can be a similar experience. It's deeply raw, isn't it, having children? And you can't hide in any corners. I've been raised in an old school way in a big corporate industry 20 plus years ago. This was now, and there was a clear definition between personal and home, personal and work. And it was all about being suited and booted and showing up, and you'd be taking the clients out late at night, and it didn't matter where they wanted to go to. And a lot of them were men, and they were taking me to places that perhaps as a woman I wouldn't normally choose to go to. And there was a lot of casual and direct sexism that I just was told to suck up. And I think all of that got too much. When I had my daughter, this strident feminist unleashed again. And I'd been suppressing that for too long. And I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And I was going to be authentically me. So when I came back to work, I came bringing my whole self, and just with the confidence that mothering motherhood had brought, and with an idea that I was coming back to work as a role model for my daughter this time, and re-entered the telecoms arena, and then broadened out into technology, and have made it an absolute conscious decision to only work with the nice people, the good guys, and try and be really vocal about my own experiences and share my vulnerabilities. And I bring my whole self to work, and I know several people here, you know that I'm the same whether you meet me at home, in the supermarket, on my bike, or in presenting at a board. It will be the same me. And I will talk openly about my breakdown and about my dyslexia and the neurodiversity in my household and everything else. So please ask away. Oh, and I'm great to have you. So I recommend it.
Thank you. That's really amazing. Thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Monk Tagara. I'm a leadership coach and facilitator. I've been doing that for the last 4.5 years. Before that, I was in tech and broadcast media, working for companies like Amazon, BBC, Sky, working on products such as BBC iPlayer. And what happened was I was able to progress through my career to a point where I became a leader of about 60 people across the EMEA region. And what I found is that no one taught me to be a leader, basically. So about 5 years ago, no one said to me, this is how you lead people, how you lead yourself. It was just like from managing 0 to 60 people. And I ended up suffering with burnout during that time because I was people pleasing, I was conflict avoiding, I was in a terrible state, basically, trying to make everyone happy, including being responsible for profit and loss as well. And I ended up becoming quite ill, high blood pressure and anxious as well. Also the hiring and firing of people as well, reorganising. People don't react very well when they get fired, unfortunately. So that kind of pressure was really, really difficult to do. So what happened was I ended up going to my HR director, who said, let me offer you some coaching as well. So we found a company that did some coaching. I did a leadership program for about 8 months. And it was an amazing program. It was based in Stockholm because my company was Swedish. And it brought that holistic self that you're saying, Lucy, that, the work life and the personal life, bring that all together, looking at my habits and how to break them as well. So what I realized through that process is that I needed to change myself, not other people, and become the leader that I wanted to be. So that took time, that took over 8 months. But when I realized I was happy, I jacked my career completely. So that's it, I'm done. Drop the mic, I'm out. So I ended up doing coaching instead, and I've been doing it the last 4.5, 5 years. And very much I agree with the ethos that you are one person, and having that one person makes you feel better, authentic, and more open to experiences as well, and being vulnerable as well. So it's been an amazing experience. I get burnt out in different ways now because obviously I'm trying to build my own business. However, I know how to manage it a bit better now.
Wow, how do I follow you? This is a bit of a thread going on here from corporate to sort of finding yourself. And I'm Shalom Lloyd. I am, I'm the founder of a few companies. I run about 4 companies in total. I'm a pharmacist by qualification. I've worked in the drug development industry for about 26 years and got in there from entry level and worked my way up to really senior. I can relate to both of you, really, being in that corporate environment and living on a plane and just not being home, really. I'm also a mom to 5 kids. I've got 2 stepchildren and 3 biological kids. So who ground me? And I think my story, when we say burnout, I really don't know how I can't really say, oh my God, I've been totally burnt out, because I'm a workaholic. I don't necessarily have hobbies, and my work seems to be my hobby, to be honest. So corporate life, yes, it was very, very stressful, and I would work 24/7. If my boss wanted to report by 6 a.m., I would do an all-nighter. And I think to myself, I can do that for myself. No pressure. It's down to me. I left the industry because after I had my twins, one of them had eczema, and found a solution for him. I started my company, Naturally Tribal, and that's been my passion. And then my father got ill with cancer, having worked in cancer research as well, tried to find a solution for him because he lived in Africa, started my other company, EMQT, to kind of do research in Africa as well. So everything I do has purpose and impact. I have fun. I enjoy everything I do. And the key thing is, my company, Naturally Tribal, was started by my son, one of my twins. So all my kids are involved in the business. Nick does Amazon, Helen does marketing, Joshua, Isaac helps to pack the stuff. So really involving everybody around me. Hey, if I make the money, you buy new trainers, right? So get on with it. So I kind of enjoy getting my family involved in all of this. And that's how I really manage my stress. It's not by design. I realize, wow, when everybody's around me, everybody knows everything about the business and we're all doing it together. But I do get sort of burnt out and stressed in a way because I haven't had holiday for 3.5 years. I'm going on holiday in August. I'm a control freak. Absolutely. I'm a control freak though. I'm thinking laptop or no laptop.
No laptop.
You lose your mind otherwise.
You guys know exactly, right?
Just take a notepad.
iPad. If you say don't take the laptop, you guys are lying. I swear, you know you go crazy. I'll go crazy. I'm taking my laptop with me. I shall pace myself.
I would say don't take a laptop, but take a notepad.
Okay.
Notepad. So every time you have ideas, you get to write it down. You go. You're creative. You're writing it. But a laptop means then you just won't be in a position where you don't then go on emails. Because once you start an email, you're like, oh, I just answer another one. And you spiral. But you have to understand why you're taking something. So even if you want to take your laptop, why are you taking it?
But I think so, it's also the type of holiday. So we're a family of cruisers. I'll tell you why I love cruising. It's because you find yourself in the middle of, you look left, it's water. You look right, it's water. And there's no Wi-Fi, you think, sorry, I might as well just switch off. And it works for me. If I go on holiday, mainland or somewhere nice, it's Wi-Fi, I'll be on it straight away. But the kind of holiday we normally take makes sure that no signal.
Definitely the notebook then.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
I love it. I'm identifying 100% over here. So hi, I'm Davina. I'm mostly known actually as Fudge Lady. And I'm okay with that. I'm quite happy with it. In fact, my auntie bought me a chef hat that says Fudge Queen on it, and so I'm aspiring to that. I think we're getting there. So I'm owner, maker, dreamer of fudge. We have free samples here, so sorry, online people. We've got some fudge samples, so please try them. They're vegan, mostly gluten-free as well, and we've got some nut-free ranges as well. So, and I've got some beauty pie, because what kind of pasta would I be if I didn't? So fudge started, right? So fudge started out of COVID frustration, where I was super scrappy. It started 19 months ago. So December 28th, 2020 was my first sale, which is kind of what I class as kind of our start date, as it were. And before 22 months ago, I'd never made fudge before in my life. So it's been intense and incredible and led by curiosity, and I think that's where the joy in it comes from. So for me, burnout it's an interesting topic. So I've before fudge, I've led 1,000 lives. So I've got a degree in acupuncture. I had a practice up in Leeds. I've worked in technology. I've worked in recruitment. I've worked in social care. I've done 100 different things. And the key thread through all of that is my interaction with the end user, with the end customer, and your experience and how you feel when you're interacting with something that I've had a hand in, whether it's a product that I've built or a piece of fudge that I've made. You should feel good about it. You should have a great time while you're doing that. And so that for me is the red thread through the lot of it. So burnout's been a really interesting one. Recruitment is hard and fast and crazy and unethical at times, and you have to find, for me, burnout means balance. It's not actually about taking time away. I'm still working at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got 2 kids under 4, and we're still going to markets every weekend. I'm still, we're in 12 shops across the country, including a refill boat up in Manchester, which is really cool. We do events, we do corporate, all sorts of things. So I'm making fudge at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm hand packing bags at home in all hours of the day. But for me, it's about balance, because very much like you, my kids are involved. So they come to the market. They're very cute, so they're great for sales.
Yeah.
People are like, "What's your favorite fudge?" And my son's like, "Oh, I love this one." And 5 bags go. So it's great. That's why they're involved. Yeah, absolutely. Full on marketing. I'm all about the brand. So it's about balance. So if I find I'm getting a bit overwhelmed, or I can't think straight because I'm a creative brain, so there's always 25 different things going on anyway, I actually take myself away, and even if that's for an hour or half a day, everything will wait. And I found that I have to make my peace with the fact that everything will wait. That for me was not the easy mental switch to make. So my wife and I, we have a pact. So I have a night away in a hotel once a month, and she does the same. And in fact, a couple of months ago,
How do you get that pact?
a lot of crying in the corner, like anything you need. But it was so, like during COVID and stuff, it was so bad that actually we lived in Milton Keynes, and I stayed at the Jury's Inn in Milton Keynes just so I could get away. So it's not about necessarily going hundreds of miles away or anything like that. It was just having that individual space to just lie on the bed and stare at the ceiling without worrying about the noise that's going on or anything else that's going on. So it's for me, I think burnout is very personal, how you deal with it, how you experience it. It's okay for me to still work all hours of the day and to take my laptop on holiday with me, because that gives me balance and peace, and I'm able to then manage the stress and the pressure that comes with it. And I'll be honest, it helps when you absolutely adore what you do.
Oh, yes.
I'm obsessed by fudge.
I
I never thought, honestly, you talked to me 2 years ago. You know, Sharon.
I know.
You talked to me 2 years ago, and I'd be obsessed by blockchain and technology and recruitment in the same way. No, I was, and I loved it. But this is honestly something else. And the fact that I can bring so much joy from boiling sugar blows my mind.
And it tastes
so good. Thank you very much. It's intense and I love it. So thanks for having me today.
Oh wow, I don't have to follow all you.
There's a lot, and just to kind of get in there, there's a lot of comments through saying no laptop. I'm just letting you know. Zainab Barber says my brain would scream to take laptop, but I think no laptop. Sonal says no laptop. Manal says no laptop. I just feel like if you want a vote, no laptop's probably winning.
I don't think it's that linear. Take a laptop and time it, right?
Yes.
2 hours a day or whatever.
She's the real entrepreneur out of all of us, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's safe,
And
give
they've asked
something
them to hide it for you.
Yeah.
And then like you have to go through a few questions to be and then
Yeah.
is it worth
Like
it?
Crystal Maze style.
Yeah.
You've got to earn it. That's even more stressful. But she's so good.
Cool. Absolutely, Rochelle, please.
Hi guys, my name is Rochelle White and I own Rochelle White Agency, which is a brand marketing communications agency. I've done that now for 6 years. I also own a second business called PR Source, which has been designed to basically use my knowledge and everything that I know to provide that information to small local independent businesses. There's no hidden agenda to that group. It is actually a free group on Facebook, and I put loads of stuff in there. You know,
I was
because
going to
you're
say, honestly,
I keep it real. So what does burnout mean to me? I do believe, I agree with a lot of you, it is a personal thing. I fully believe that. And also for me, I have to always have balance. Like I love to work only because I like what I do and I like to think what I do is fun because I get to pick what I do and who I work with. But for me, I go to the gym. I work out 5 days a week at 6 every morning. So I'm in the gym at 6 on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. I work out at home Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I only work 4 days a week on clients, and Fridays I have off. I don't tend to start working till 10, although my hours are 9 till 5, as in I check emails and stuff, but I try to give myself balance that way because I don't believe in hustle culture personally. It doesn't work for me, hence why I burned out last year. Working consistently and not having a break, not having balance doesn't do well for me. I like to see my friends. My family are a very big part of everything that I do in my business. I don't know if any of you see my LinkedIn. I pretty much big up my family all the time, especially my dad. Shout out dad. He's my mate, my best mate. And I have to have balance in regards to, I don't say I have hobbies, but I guess the gym is probably my hobby. Although I probably don't feel like I go to the gym. love food, and spending time with my friends and having weekends off. Now, granted, I do work a lot. There's not really a day that I don't work, but I'm not someone who will work, say, Saturday and Sunday from 9 till 6. I'll dip in and out, I'll put ideas down, and I do various different bits and pieces. Because I just believe working consistently, I don't think it's good mentally. I don't think it's good for you physically, and I do believe you need to have balance. And I think, again, everyone is different, but I think having core friends and core family, if you have it, is a really key thing. And I find that sometimes with people that don't have that, they have this whole mentality of, I've got to work all the time, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, because I have to be successful and I have to, you know, I don't know, like make a million or whatever. And I think to myself, that to me just screams there's probably other issues there. Maybe it's an insecurity thing. Maybe something's happened somewhere where you have to prove something. Well, I believe that you put in what you put out. Sometimes people can put all those hours in and not get anything out. So then they are burning themselves out, but they like to pretend that they're not and that everything's good, but they're stressed, they're tired. Or they say things like, oh, I don't have time for friends. Friends are fundamental to me because my friends help me laugh, relax. And then sometimes they're like, we're well proud of you. The amount of messages I get from friends on a daily basis of like, Wash, we're really proud of you. Like, oh, we'll celebrate. Like, when my friend got married this weekend, half of them, I didn't know I got nominated for an award. Half of them messaged me going, Wash, have you seen this? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm literally like a coach on a wedding. They're like, you've been nominated. I was like, oh, wait. They're like, we love you. We hope you get it. What do you need us to do? We'll do anything just to promote it for you. So for me, that's how I avoid burnout. It's friends, it's family, and it's balance. And it's the gym. And laughing a hell of a lot. I laugh all the time. So that's my thing. But yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. We've got some great questions coming in. We're going to put two questions together. So Pretty asks, how do you recognize burnout is coming? And I think that's really important because everyone has different kind of triggers, let's say, when burnout. And I definitely think that there's a definition right now of burnout in social media, online, throughout the comms, to be like, burnout is when you're basically, it's the end. Like you know, it's either go to bed or be hospitalized. Like that's how severe burnout feels right now. Otherwise, you can't get that sick note. Corporates aren't going to believe you. And what's the point of burning out? You've like lived through the pandemic, get back and do the work. So I think there's that. And then we've had a great question from Zainab that says, how, on the extension of that, how do you then kind of shut your brain off? Sometimes you're going away or you're doing something, but your thoughts are still rushing. So that's one element of kind of burnout too. So if we, bring those two things. Yeah, but not everyone can afford that reality, right? So it's one thing. Like I absolutely every 3-4 months, I'm like, I need to go away on holiday. But I work stupidly hard so I can afford that holiday. And also culturally, I don't necessarily have those limitations compared to other South Asian women in my culture, right? So it's not as easy as be like, go on holiday, which is mostly what our advice is, because some people don't have the money or the privilege or the freedom or the independence or the time. So what can we do in our everyday lives that you can do from anywhere in the world versus, of course, like holiday is great, but that's like actually for the people that can afford the luxury.
I think for me, the interesting thing is when we talk about kind of avoiding burnout or recovering from burnout, we talk about doing nothing in some form or another, whether it's going on holiday or taking yourself off to a hotel for a night or whatever. And that's not always the case. So I'll give you a personal example. I hate yoga, but it was because it was too static for me, and so my brain was mad. And then when I did hot yoga, I'm obsessed with it because you're constantly moving and I'm thinking about I have to survive these next however many minutes. Keep breathing. It's too warm. You know, my brain is focused on something. So it's about me understanding that actually sitting and doing nothing isn't always actually relaxing for me. It's about how do I redirect my brain to do something that's slightly less stressful or more enjoyable for me or brings me joy or brings me peace. It's not necessarily about doing nothing. And so it for me, like I've said, it's a personal thing. So trying to understand what are the things that bring your heart rate down, and how can you find 5 minutes to do that in all the madness.
It's a pressure cooker, really.
Yeah.
It's like a pressure cooker. When you start feeling that thing just sort of boil over, before it gets to that point where it starts like whistling, like it needs somewhere to go, you have to really, it's about being self-aware, knowing oneself, you know, and knowing those signs. And pressure cooker and guilt.
Yes.
I don't think we talk about guilt enough. We feel so guilty about everything. I should be doing something. I can't just do nothing. And I know, like Sonia said, not a lot of people can afford holidays, but I haven't been on one for 3.5 years. How have I been managing? I binge on, there's some weekends where like I'm nobody's wife, I'm nobody's mother. Netflix is my husband. Nobody bother me because I'm binge watching anything that's good. Bridgerton, bring it on. And I'm watching it for the entire day. I'm not gonna have a shower. I'm just sitting in my bed. I'll only get up to eat or use to drink. That's it. And for me, I think when you're kind of connected to the whole family thing, they know that that's you time because they see you going at 200 miles per hour. And they know at that point where she's reached that Netflix time, nobody disturb her because you're there. And or whatever. So I think it's knowing yourself and finding that thing that works for you. For some people, it's hanging out with family. I love my own company. I can shut myself away and watching mind-numbing television. I love it. So I don't have to use any brain cells whatsoever. Love Island. No. People say, "Oh my God!"
You walk out that generation
because I don't hear it. I listen to it. I'm not hearing what they're saying, but I'm just like, they're not there. It's mind-numbing, and it just switches me off. No brain cells.
I think that's an interesting point though that I've learned recently. I think educating myself about where the burnout came from originally, because I was so unaware, and then it just hit me with physical illness instead. So I think being older, I took a bit of time to work it out, and I think the whole introvert versus extrovert need and recognizing that I was an extrovert. So I think a little like you, Rochelle, I need to connect with people. That tops up my energy. So I need the social. But my daughter, for example, is an introvert. So I recognize that she needs to go away and lock the door and binge on Netflix. And I'm not to disturb except be 5-star service. And I understand because now she's like charging up her battery. So it's recognizing what caused it. So cortisol, Rochelle, I'm all over the gym with you there. I work out 6 days a week, but I'm a single mum, and it's not easy financially. So I definitely can't afford to go on to the nice holidays. So what I did in lockdown was I just got a bike. I just got a secondhand really cheap bike, and I started cycling. And that was my time. That was my 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever of just pure me time. It doesn't cost any money. You can get outside. We have amazing parks here. And now it's culminated in just this weekend being able to take on a sport competition that I would never have thought I could do. Which again, I enjoy competition. So understanding that cortisol is driving a lot of the stress. So I need to do something straight away to intervene, get rid of the cortisol. I need the boost of the social contact, but my daughter needs to get away from it. And the other thing is you've got to hit the endorphins. What works for you? Is it food, the fudge? Definitely. That's going to work for me. So, like now, know to say no. You just again, an important lesson, learning to say no to people and say yes to me was a really important, hard step.
I agree with that. I don't have any work stuff on my personal phone. Nothing, no emails. The only socials I have is like WhatsApp and my personal Instagram. Everything is on a separate phone, and I don't even really have anything on my iPad. Only because if I don't, because it's like anything, working in PR and stuff, you get a lot of emails quite a lot, and things change, and people have deadlines, and I think to myself, at one point I was like, oh my God, I don't want to look at my phone anymore because it just keeps going off. I have no notifications on my phone, so I have none of that either. So I have to physically always go into the app. On my personal phone, it goes on Do Not Disturb at 11 and unlocks at 7:30. So when I go to the gym, I get no distractions, it's pure music. And then even on my work phone, that goes off at 8 and comes back on at 8. So I have to give myself balance in that way. So otherwise I'll just work all the time.
I would have a seizure if my phone.
Really? It's the best thing for me. I don't check any social media before 9:30. I don't do any social media before 9.
Michelle's just busted a myth there. Right?
Yeah. She has. I love
the
that.
myth she's busted is it's not just gangsters that have two phones.
We're the original hustlers.
There you go.
Everybody has a
Two phones for like 20 years.
I agree.
Do you not have
No, I've got this one.
Oh,
yeah,
life changer. I have a separate phone.
No, two phones. Two phones.
Without.
Be a gangster.
My friends start on my work phone as well, and then graduate to my personal phone. That's my time.
And two separate numbers.
Yes,
Yeah, two
that's
separate
what you need.
numbers.
It's two numbers.
What
Not
two
one
numbers?
phone, two numbers, dual SIM.
Honestly,
That's true,
that's the second thing I've taken away from today. Honestly, there's
It's
two
going to
things.
change your life.
First is two phones.
Yeah.
The first
Or
one
a dual
was,
SIM.
honestly, the first one was Lisa saying to me, your imposter syndrome
Yeah,
is your friend. And I thought,
Ah,
oh,
yeah, tell us this.
No.
should just say
Please
it's
do
your
explain.
friend. You've got to explain this because that was
So,
my stress management.
everyone has an imposter, and sometimes it's quite significant in our lives, and other times it's quite small. So you'll go through phases and times where it will affect you all very differently. And I've learned to make friends with my imposter so that it's not big and a significant part of my life. I've learned to make friends with it and shrink it and make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's really small now, and it sits in my pocket, and it keeps me real. And not that I'm arrogant, but it stops arrogance. And I make friends with it. And every now and then it pops up, and I go, all right, okay, fine, put it away.
Isn't that the coolest
I know
thing?
that.
So I make
Yeah,
friends
I
with
love
my
that.
imposter.
Own it, really.
I think
Has
also
he got a
that,
name, or he or she?
No,
That's like your chimp, right?
Yeah, right.
Name
My
your
chimp
chimp.
song.
Yeah.
Hugo.
It
What's
is.
your
Hugo.
That's it.
I think also that imposter syndrome, especially in women, comes out more when they're burnt out. Because they're second guessing themselves.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And when it comes to the physical symptoms of like burnout as well, there's headaches, there's not being able to sleep, there's doubting yourself, there's not being motivated, nothing makes you happy. So if you're recognizing those symptoms, it's really important to actually start calling it out, because that's when it gets too far that you start burning out. And I think also talk to someone about it as well. Like there's community around you, there's people to help you as well. Like when I was younger, I didn't have to name burnout, so I had panic attacks instead. So it's really important to be able to speak to people around you that you trust. So this is what I'm feeling, and they'll be able to speak to you as well. Like you can talk to your imposter syndrome, you can talk to each other as well, right? As well. So it's one of those things really important to find your community.
Why is it so common with women, from your experience of mentoring so many people in your profession? Why does it seem to be? I mean, I only hear women telling me they have imposter syndrome. I work predominantly with men and executives. I've never had one tell me he had imposter syndrome.
They hide it.
If you
They hide
hide
it.
It's not that
What do
they're
they
not
call it?
hiding it. Do you know what it is? They don't have the reference or the term for
what do
it.
they
So
do?
generally, if you look at stats, I'm sure Matt can add in more. Generally, imposter syndrome is a term associated for women because it's made for women who are high achievers in the 1980s or so. So it's not something that was revolutionary. It hasn't been here for years. It was like, you're a high achieving woman and you are doubting yourself. So you know what? You're an imposter. But are you really an imposter? So I always ask, are you really an imposter, or is it butterflies, or are you nervous, or are you psyched for something? And if you're an imposter, okay, have you taken a step back to realize what your skills are? Maybe it's misalignment. So when I worked in tech, a lot of my job role was misalignment. I was doing project management, operations, admin. For anyone who tries to email me, you know I'm really terrible at replying back, and email management generally. But that's the kind of work I was doing in corporate, which didn't really make sense. And now I run my own business. I'm aligning my strengths and my skills to my runway. So if I'm standing here speaking today, do I feel like an imposter? Absolutely not. I walk into every space being like, I deserve to be here and I earned this space. But then when I don't know something, I'll take a step back and listen. There's also 5 types of imposters, right? So there's natural genius, a soloist, there is the expert, right? As an example. And I'm sure, yeah, exactly, the perfectionist, and a superhuman. So I'm a soloist. What that means is I have a really hard time asking for help. So I'd be like, oh,
That's true, Miss Barlow.
so difficult. I'd be like, no, you know what? I can do it all by myself. And if I ask for help, you're going to find out that maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to come and ask for help until it's the very last moment. And I realized that's something which I need to work on. So now I write stuff down to be like, okay, this is what I need help with. I will go to my partner and just be like, look, this is what I'm thinking. I'll think out loud. I'm like, I don't need a response. I just want you to let you know where I'm thinking and what I'm thinking. I'll do the same with my mother. I do it with my mentors. And I'll be like, I just need to let you know that I'm confused, but I don't know what I'm confused about. But when I know, I'll come to you. So it's just about letting someone know. And you know, most of you know, I do a bunch of things. Like, I do so many things. But now I realize it's because I was not confident enough to do just one thing. So it's easier to be successful if you're doing a lot of things and you're a little bit of everything than it is just to be one thing and to focus on it.
That's so interesting, because everyone always says, just do one thing, focus on your passion.
Exactly.
I can't do that because I have
So-
too many passions.
Absolutely. There's
I agree too.
but there's having a lot of passions, and then actually when you step back, you're like, maybe the fear is that if you do one thing that doesn't work, that is more difficult for you to handle. But if you do 3 things at a time, then you not only focus and you code switch, which itself is exhausting, and we'll talk about code switching and burnout, but then you don't have to be in a position where you're like, oh, that didn't feel, but that definitely did work. So actually, I'm going to win on this and carry it forward. Exactly, you're spreading risk, you're diversifying, you're investing in yourself in different assets until something makes you money or makes
Shalane
it
does
work.
that really well.
I do.
You do that really
And I
well.
think it's the thread. For me, it's a thread. There has to be a thread that connects everything that I do together, right? So for me, and it gives me energy because I love everything that I do. So you see somebody using our products and it's had this impact on them, and they kind of just say, here's what it's done. That for me, that's fuel. And then a woman 4,000 miles away has built a house or has paid her children's school fees because of something you've done. That's mega fuel. You know what I mean? Although Black people make up 17% of the world's population, less than 3% of us are good in clinical trials, right? My company does that, so we are including Black patients in Africa in trials. And when you do that, you see data coming in, you're buzzing. And although I'm crazy, like burnt out or whatever, but when you get all that and it's coming through, and like you say, doing 10 million things, but there's a thread, impact, purpose, it's doing something, and you're making money in the process, you're thinking, okay.
Until I spoke to you this morning, I had no idea how impactful my group was on Facebook. Because half the time no one really speaks in it, so I thought, oh, I'm just posting
Your
all the
group
stuff.
on Facebook
but-
is very impactful. I said to you, if
Thank
you come
you
to
so
our
much,
office,
yeah.
for instance, there was something you wrote in terms of do's and don'ts, and it's on the wall in our office.
That's amazing.
And we
Thank you
refer
so
back
much.
to it to say this what we're doing fitting to what she said.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really humbled by that because I was like, in my head, I'm like, no one really reads these posts, but I'm still going to keep
No, I
posting.
love it.
But thank you. Yeah, I think they
What
just
about
go,
your support network? So tell me about who's in your tribe and who do you take out of
oh
your
my
tribe?
God, can I go? Sorry.
Yeah, go.
Oh, easy. My mum, my dad, and my sister, they are like the 3 fundamentals to who I am and what I do. And anyone that knows me knows family is a huge thing for me. And I think that's why I refer to my business as the RWA family, because I like to make everyone feel like they are part of my family. The most welcoming people that you'll ever meet, all a bit nuts, but it's fabulous. Then aside from that, I have loads of different mentors. I'm going to shout out Kevin and Rich because they have been fundamental so far to my growth of my business, especially during COVID. I have to say as well, people here like Sharon and Debbie and the NATWEST Accelerator when I was on program, again, gave me fundamentals. If it wasn't for Sharon, I don't think I would ever have had a CRM or understood what that was. My sales process. So, and also Kev, because he helped me refine all of that. So there's that. And then I'm part of a networking group called the Southwood Social Hub, which I absolutely love. And I've been in that group now for probably like 5 years. Get on really well with Hayley, who runs it, and all the different ladies in there. And then again, my other biggest support, which I mentioned before, is it's got to be my friends. I think friends are so fundamental for me anyway, because I go on holiday with them. Like the past 2 weekends, I've been in Norfolk, I've been in Ireland, I've got festivals coming up, and as much as I love my own company, I can easily decide not to see anyone for like 2 days. It's fine, but at the same time, they give me that balance of, oh, I don't have to work all the time. And I'm not Michelle, like, they never look at me as like a business owner. They look at me as who I am as a person. And like, they'll be like, oh, we're going to do a road trip, we're going to do this, like, we'll go for walks. So for me, that is who my support circle is. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think probably I would be the person that I am. Because a lot of my friends, which I'm very grateful for, I've known them, like one of them I've known since playgroup, and she's still my friend now. A lot of them are from school, are from college, and from uni, and other workplaces. So to me, that's testament to, I think, who I am as a person. So I'm very lucky to have those people. And even when I cry, because I never really cry, but when I do cry, they're all there. They're not like, why are you crying for? Like, just get over it. They're all like, we'll come over. We'll cry with you. Grab tea and biscuits. I'm like, tea and biscuits is great. So they are my support network, basically. Yeah.
I think your network is a network.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, of course, I've got my family. I grew up with 4 brothers, right? And I do get over yourself. And my brother's like, get over yourself. You know you can just get on with it. But you know, these are the people that feel. But I also believe in the journey that I've had from a business perspective, an entrepreneur. Oh my God, wherever I go, I just kind of build this tribe. But the biggest lesson I've learned is I now have absolutely no shame. I've met all of you. I'll have no problem asking. That's the biggest thing. You
That's
know,
a good tip.
I have
Because
no
that's
problem.
hard. That's really hard.
That's the
Yeah.
hardest thing.
Yeah.
I've learned to
Yeah.
ask. I'll be like, oh, I need this. Sharon, who do you know? You have a huge network. Tap into your network. Who I need X, Y, Z. I should say, give me a couple of days, you know, and I'll come back to you. If I don't know anyone, I'll still come back to you. So I look around the audience right now, and goodness, I've got a badass network here right now. You know what I mean? It's your network. If you don't use it, then it's on you. And I think that is your tribe, because like, show me who your friends are.
Oh my God, my dad always said, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if you ain't got no friends, that's a sign for me.
There you
You're
go.
a bad person.
There you go.
Sometimes, yeah, because people will do that whole thing like, oh yeah, I'm really nice and friendly. But then when you start speaking to me, you're like, oh, so like, who did you, or they're like, oh, I hang out with work people. And you're like,
So I'm going to make you feel really bad about yourself now because I have maybe 2 friends.
that's fine.
No, you
Because
don't.
it's
Billy.
not
No,
like
it's
your
not
friends
about
are
like,
quality.
no,
It's
we're
about
talking about
quality,
kind
your
of
core
core,
circle.
people who are my support, my tribe.
Yeah.
There's 2.
I have
that will kind
5
of, you
key
know,
friends.
There's
That
lots
no
and
matter
lots
what.
of people that I know and stuff, but I'm a classic kind of extrovert introvert. So you see me at a market, you come and see me as honestly, like, and you speaking to me, like you see me at a market and you wouldn't think like I'm the life of the party, and I would chat to everybody and know everybody, and it's awesome, and I have the best time doing it. But boy, do I need an hour when I go home.
Yeah,
Do
same,
you
right?
get now you see me, now you don't?
Yeah.
I
And everybody knows I'll go home, I'll unload the car, and then I'll disappear for an hour. I'll go for a shower. I need to like build back up again. So
But there's 2 questions to that, right? Which I'm thinking of, especially for people who don't necessarily first understand that level of friendship. So what I mean by that is my personal friends have evolved, and actually the friends I had at university, so for anyone who's a student, my university friends, amazing. They show up to this day and all credit goes to them. But I didn't really give them enough of my time because I was so caught up trying to be with the cool kids. And my actual like uni friends that I spent time with were super toxic. So what I realized is surrounding myself with those people, I was diminishing myself because I was trying to stoop to their level. And I do mean stoop because they were like here and I was like here, yeah. If you're watching, I was.
Love it.
So,
Say
yeah.
it.
Absolutely. I don't care because you have to own it yourself, and that's fine. But then when you went into the workspace, I feel like when I joined the workspace, and maybe some of you feel like this too, I know we speak about it at the LMF network quite a lot, I felt like it was just an adult playground.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing again, you're trying to know the cool people, and the cool people are the ones that are progressing, but they're not progressing on their actual like work ethic and their hustle, they're progressing because they've got the friends and the network, you know, and they kind of make the most of it. They're who you know, not the what you know. And now as a business entrepreneur, you get lonely. And so then you make bad friendship decisions. And I've done that, been there as well. And I'm sure most of us have.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess my question is, what is that definition of friendship? And where do you find friends that are on that level with you, but also that level above you so you can strive to be there and not be in a position where you're feeling like you have to minimize or lessen yourself because the people you're around aren't quite there? And, you know, we do it as women, we do it as people, but we also definitely do it as people that are building our own hustles, be that if you're in full-time work or if you're a stay-at-home mom or if you're, you know, a traveler and a content creator, all the way to if you run your own business. I do think there's an element of lessening yourself to please others versus investing in yourself to please yourself.
Yeah, I had a really interesting experience actually, because when you sort of like you do a career for 20 years, you have a really good network, and then I changed my career. And I thought I could rely on the people that I used to know. They weren't there anymore, man.
Funny that.
There's a few of them. There's a few of them. My hardcore like amazing supporters, but everyone else disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was left. I was like, this is. I was in my 40s. I'm still in my 40s. By the way, just turned 40. But I was like really like disturbed and quite overwhelmed by not having that support. So I had to build up my network from scratch, and that's why I had to go take myself to conferences and meet other people. And like, I'll give Sonia as an example. Like we met in 2018. Sonia has always lifted me up when she can, and I will always be grateful for that because she never forgets about me, and I hope I never forget about her as well. So even though she's really busy, that's what I think friendship is. It's about having the same values, the same work ethic, and being able to build each other up. And I think because of that, I've met these amazing people over the last 4 or 5 years that'll be there more an authentic way more than anything else,
But you find that through her network, also you're meeting like-minded people. So that's how you build it, right? You're building it from there.
We've been through similar experiences. Even though I'm older than Sonia, like there is this reverse mentorship almost, because the first thing I said to Sonia, I don't know how to use Instagram. I don't know what hashtag is. That's why she had to go back to basics with me, right? Even though I was from a tech background, it just blew my mind away. But it's building that the like-minded people, the same values and purpose as you, and that's where the authentic relationships will come from as well.
I like to think as well. So I've got family who are, I would say we keep it real, like we have real talk. So I've always been the same. So even when I was at school to now, a lot of people say you haven't changed, because I've called people out, and a lot of people, like, I laugh at people, and like I say to them, you think I'm friends with you? I said, don't get too excited, because we're not true friends yet. But that's the truth, because I'm working you out. Like, you make me nice and friendly and smiley, but I get gut feelings. I don't always act on them straight away, because I'm like, somewhere down the line you're going to show me who you really are.
I agree with that.
And then most of the time they do.
Trust
So it's like, someone's really nice to you, and I'm like, oh my god, hi hon, and then literally they're really nasty to someone else. I'm like, that's a bad trait. I don't pull them up on it, but I see that and I'm like, that doesn't sit well with me. So all my friends, and I'm very lucky, we all have a very good, authentic friendship. So if someone is acting a certain way, I'm literally going to swear, and I had to stop myself. If someone is acting a certain way, we call them out there. As if to say, like, are you okay, hon? Like, and then like literally if they're like no, and I'm like, right, what's happened? Because obviously you're acting that way because of something. So, and even with the people that I've met, a lot of them are very real. They're very open. Like straight away you said to me, so I'm looking to grow and scale my business, and you very kindly, it was like, come and talk to me, I'll happily help you. Already my gut feeling is like, there's no hidden agenda, you're not being nice to be like, I'm going to get something from you later on or anything like that. It was a genuine thing, and I think genuine people always go far. I always worry about the people that seem genuine, but then when you actually speak to them, or you look at how they behave and their characteristics, that's who they truly are. So I am loud, I'm sometimes extremely obnoxious, I talk all the time, I never go back on my word, which I'd like to think I don't, but then if I do, I might say something and I think, actually, Joe, I probably should have said that, because I know deep down I don't mean that. So then I think to myself, so I start to pull back. But I think having those true and authentic people around you, that is what helps build.
But this is life though, this is where the categorizing comes in my opinion. I've got the tribe, one category tribe. These are people, like you say, where you share values with, you have so much in common. And the tribe, and I've got the ride category. These are the people that I ride with on a day, we kind of, and then you've got the ride or die. These are people who will walk through walls for you, and you will walk through walls for them. So, and these people can move from one category to the other, or they can go down. So you just have to be, again, it's about, I think it's self-awareness. It's self-awareness. It's really about
I always say I have my day ones and my home slices. That's what I call them. They are my day ones. So I know that no matter what, whether I had, like, when I was at uni and I was really poor, one of my friends, she would take me out for dinner. She'd be like, do you want to go for dinner? I'd be like, mate, I ain't got no money. She'd be like, I didn't ask if you were paying. I said, do you want to go for dinner? And in my head, like, she was with me that whole time. My friends that have seen me go up and down in my business, all of them were like, do you want us to come? Like, I don't know marketing and PR, but I'll help you. So to me, they are my day ones. They're my home slices. There's people in my network who, again, I can go to ask questions, and I know that they'll help me. But then there's other people that they're not. And I feel like your friends, they do evolve. I don't think I haven't got, at the minute, I don't think I've got any friends that I feel like I'm above or anything like that. But I do feel like we've got a balanced friendship, because at the end of the day, they're not my friend because I'm a business owner. They're my friend because I'm Michelle. They know I love music. They know I love holidays, and they will support me. Like, I could do something really random, but then they'll be like, "Oh my god, we're so proud of you!" And I'm like, "Yay! That's all I need." So yeah, I think having those people, they flitter about, but I always have my core friends. And like you, I don't have many that I would say are my day ones. I probably have about 5 or 6 at a real push, because for me it's not about the quantity of friends, it's the quality. And the same with my network, I make sure I have a quality network, so when I am looking to grow and scale or asking to have fundamentals, I've got people there that are genuinely there to help, and they will offer their time, or they'll say, I want to introduce you to this person. So I feel like that is a key thing, really. They kind of evolve.
As you have the categories, you also have the levels. To Sonia's point, I like to have people who are more experienced than me. They're so super successful. You're in there thinking, okay, come on, teach. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm not even on your level yet. So it's great to have those people because you aspire to get to where they are. And then there's also people that you know that you're that inspirational person for them. And I've learned to own that when people kind of come up and say, oh my God, you inspire me. Deflect, like we're talking about. Like, let's move on. And thank you so much. Now I'm learning to own it. Because how people look at you is also how you look at those
Isn't
people
that
that you
deeply
aspire.
rewarding? And of course, if only you'd known that when you were 21 and you were sort of, oh, I'd love to ask, but I can't. And now it's like, I love it if someone wants me to mentor them or just a chat. I love helping and watching somebody flourish. And you're so proud. And equally, I think I'm going to say something controversial here. It's fine to obviously we have to have the core friends, and I love your grading, ladies, on that. It's great to be able to categorize it. But I'd say there's a grading beyond that, which is your broader network. You don't have to be best friends with those people, and actually even friends. You can have what I term my business friends, my broader network, and it's open, and we know why we're taking absolutely because that's how we have time to get to know each other, or it's transactional, and there's only a level we're going to go to, but we might be able to help each other, and we're happy to do so. And I think that's fine to have that. You know, it's good as women. You can always feel guilty. It's not, no, it's not emotional enough. It's fine. You know, and to use that whole network for your business and then give back.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm going to do is, I think we've had a beautiful conversation. I'm very mindful of time as we can network, and of course, people that are online, you're going to miss out on the networking. But you could have been here, but and the fun. You could have been here, but online, it's fine. Would anyone in the audience like to get involved? Would you like to ask any questions and share your story? So we're not going to record you unless you want to actually asking the question or sharing your story. Your voice might just be kind of there. Because we want it to be somewhat of a safe space, but feel free if you would like to. Yeah. You can come here and you can like, this is what my question is. And maybe do an introduction as well, because that'd be cool.
Sure. I love the conversation. Sorry for being late, but work put me back. So lovely to see you all and listen to this. My name is Meaga, and Sonia has been my mentor, and she's helped me progress to where I am. So I'm absolutely proud. As I was hearing, I'm sort of a very introverted person coming from South Asia, from India. I wasn't an sort of a person who would speak in an audience or a crowd. But having interacted with Sonia for just 8 weeks, I sort of realized the potential I had and possibly changed into a different person. And from that period of time, like 2018, to where I am, I've had a tremendous growth from a work perspective. But still, for me to be here today is the main reason because I'm sort of an introvert and an extrovert, as you said. That's I'm an extrovert with people I'm really comfortable with, and that mostly are my Indian friends that I'm comfortable with. There are very few English people that I can openly talk about, and they are my work friends. And the problem that I have is I love networking and I want to be social, but when I'm in a crowd or an audience, I feel like I'm not the person to be there. So recently I've been on a trip from an office network, and then there were a group of people completely diverse from different countries. And I was like, what am I going to talk here? It's sort of a feeling that strikes out. How do I overcome it? How can I be natural in such a situation? And how can I engage in conversation? I had nothing to speak amongst that crowd. I was just having glasses of Coke, and I don't drink as well. Just gulping some Coke and listening to the conversation is what I did. Whereas I would have loved to network, and one of you said about those burnout symptoms of getting a headache or those things. I want to be social, but I couldn't be, so it strikes other physical feelings. So I wondered if you had any tips.
I would say don't take it too seriously, and have a conversation. Like, you don't have to have a conversation necessarily about work or business.
Yeah.
You can usually say like, I've been here before, you've been here before. That can open a conversation. You can say something like, I mean, we've obviously had very nice weather, which obviously is not happening. So I'd be like, so basic, you know, I'd be like, oh, it's really hot out there. So I think, no, I was just sweating for no reason. But sometimes I just go up to people. I'm terrible. Like, I might say to someone, I really like your kicks, because I love trainers. So sometimes I just look at people and I'm like, oh, they're cool, they've got tattoos. Oh, I like your tattoos. Does that have a meaning? Sometimes I don't even bring up anything to do with work or anything like that, because I don't necessarily massively network in Milton Keynes, but when I do, I go to specific ones because I might know the person who's running it. But again, I try not to go to people that I know straight away, because then it's just easy for me to get comfortable and be like, oh yeah, you're okay, nice to see you. But I don't know why I said that. I don't talk like that. Nice to see you now. Don't talk like that. But then I'll probably find someone in the crowd that I know it sounds really bad, but I think, I'll probably have quite a good conversation with them. So I'll try and see if they've got something or trainers or something that I can just, or I'll be like, you look really cool, what do you do? Like, it can be really simple. So I would say try not to put too much thought into it, and don't necessarily get overwhelmed by the amount of people in the room. Either zone in on an area that you think, oh, actually, that's quite small. So, or like, you can just go up to people and be like, oh, if I don't mind, I'd like to join into your conversation, see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That would be my, I mean, they might have different advice, but that's just me.
I know it can't be easy for you. I think there's two things I would say from my perspective is being your authentic self. That never fails. What you just said to us right now, you walk up to someone and you say, oh my God, I'm new here. I'm not really, I'm an introvert. I'm finding this quite difficult. That's an icebreaker already. It's actually being true to yourself and being real and authentic and saying, I'm not used to all of this, and starting that conversation in that way.
Okay.
You know, they might have a cat, you might have a cat, just anything.
You'd be surprised about people that turn around to you and go, I feel the same.
Seriously.
Yes.
You know, and the second thing for me is there's something I call the curtain call. I had to practice the curtain call because I realized that we all suffer from multiple personality disorder, whether we like it or not. The way you relate to your child is different from how you talk to your partner at work. We all have those personalities. So I have a curtain call where I walk in somewhere. I just imagine the curtain open. I'm quite a drama queen. I take my bow, and then you walk in, then you do your thing. When I'm done, I imagine that sort of taking my bow and going, and in the car, just
I'm really bow when you enter a room.
I don't think it, but, you know, in my head I do.
There's fanfare when she enters the room.
So it's really, nothing beats your authentic self. And even if you do the curtain call and take a bow, that is still a part of you, one of your multiple selves, as it were. Just, you know, just be that people.
I think that's such good advice. Mira, honestly, I think the best thing that was said there was, I guarantee half the room feels like you, almost certainly. And certainly there's a good tip I had when I first started out was just to look around the room and just find one person that looks like you can help them. And I think having a job when you're there can really help get over the nerves. So perhaps your job can be just to make that person feel really comfortable, because you maybe feel like them, and maybe they feel worse than you. So you could be their friend for that moment and bring them in and say, let's go get a drink together, or have you had a snack yet? And you could be the person that hands out the snacks or hands out the drinks, or perhaps organises things a little, or speaks to the organiser. Do you need some help to put things up? Get there a little early so you've got time to check out the room in advance and you're there before there's loads of
This for me was always the thing, getting there early.
Yeah.
You got here so early today as well.
I'm an early person
You
anyway,
were.
but I need time for coffee. Like, now it's different. Now it's just for sustenance. But I used to get to a place really early because that would stress me out, like thinking I'm going to be late and I wouldn't be the first person in the room. I'd wait till other people go in, but at least I knew I was there.
You can taste the joint in advance.
And I'm not going to lie, like in the early days, I had 2 or 3 conversations already in my head that I've thought of that I was then going to talk about if there was nothing else for me to talk about. And it might not be to do with it, and I might have never used them, but I felt like I had something that if it was quiet or awkward or whatever, I could talk about something funny I did at the weekend.
You have the analogy of a house. Visualize a house, your house with a car in front, and if you have children or family in the house, see their faces and pets and your neighbours. You've immediately, through the conversation when you meet somebody, if you go blank and you have nothing else to say, where do you live? What car do you drive? Have you bought a house recently? Do you have children? Just name the items you're seeing.
That's
and it gives you 5 or 6 things to start. And guarantee the majority like to tell you about themselves.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
people talking about
I'd love to. I'd also like to actually invite Diana into the conversation because that's how you get confident. But it's because she made a really great point last week, so about this exact question. I took Diana and my cousin, who's just graduated, he's trying to figure out what to do with his life, for like a shadowing day, just to be like, look at the various things that we do. And my cousin actually asked the exact same question. So I think your answer was so good. So it might just be good to like get your view in, and then we'll ask 2 more questions. I know you've got a question as well before we kind of finish off. Otherwise, we could talk for days.
So, hi, I'm Diana. I'm intern at Elmos Network, and I was really, really shy. And the first event I went to, I was with Sonia, and she was like, okay, so we're gonna split now. You go to that side of the room, I go to this side of the room, and we're going to network. And I was really, really scared. I sat on a table with 2 other women, and they're all mature, and I was like, I have nothing to say. So I just listened. This was the first thing. I was like, okay, I don't know what to say. So I just introduced myself really quickly, and then I just listened. I was like, okay, fine. First time going to a network event, I'm just gonna listen, try to maybe join the conversation, something like, hey, how are you doing? How are you finding the event? And then I went to London Tech Week, and I was completely alone. And I was like, okay, I've done it once, I can do it again. So I just walked around, saw a few people, I was like, hey, how are you doing? How are you finding the event? So just kind of slowly, maybe what you did at first was good, just listen, see what kind of questions people are asking each other, what they're talking about, and then just try, be like, hey, how are you doing? How are you finding the event? What did you like the most of the event? And yeah, with time it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, I do want to say I didn't just throw her into it like that. I want to make that really clear. We did have a pep talk, and I was like, these are some kind of things that we can be doing, and I was there on text message. Just want to make that really clear. Just like, I'll see you later. But I think the other great point you made last week was when we went to London Tech Week as an example. That was a 3-day event, just for perspective. So first day she listened, and then she maybe picked up like 2 or 3 key themes that people are talking about. So she just went and researched a little bit around it, you know, like what does it mean? What's the definition? What's going on in the news? So when you walked in the next day, you already knew a little bit about these 3 things. And then she was able to like get into the conversation. And then the final day, again, it was just bringing resources that you knew. So I guess the point is that the first time you go to any situation, listen. The second is maybe pick 3 things that you've learned and just go and research about them, especially let's say if this is, you know, a NatWest event and we're talking about burnout. Just if you read something in the news today, you'd be like, oh, it's great, I just read this in the news, what do you think about this? Do you know what? Most people wouldn't even know. So that makes you the more knowledgeable person in the room. And therefore they'll be asking you questions and you'll start that conversation. And then thirdly, it's just to be in a position where they may reference something and it may not be the exact same thing, but it may be actually I can share a different perspective. And you know what? Everyone's perspective is so important. That's why you're in that room and you're sharing that space. I know that you had a question, and then I just want to ask if anybody else has a question before we. Yeah? Okay, great. If we share your question, and then the final 2 kind of share it together, and then we can do more of the networking side.
So I just want to say thank you, folks. That's really good. Really enjoyed listening to you. Enjoyed to listen to you. One couple of key themes that I found really interesting about bringing your authentic self and self-awareness. And actually, one of the things that I did, my name's Lisa, by the way, I'm an engineer, and was that I invested in a leadership coach. And I think one of the key things that I've done in the last few years is invest in myself. And I'm worth it. You know, I've invested in lots of different things, and it's really paid off. What's one of the key things that you've invested in that's really helped you? And I know you say the gym, for instance, is one of them. And I'm with you, but
I read. Last year I read 28 books. This year my aim is to read 32, and I've already on book 26. So I read.
What's the best one you'd recommend?
Do you know what? It's really hard because I find so many books really good, and they're also like, I guess, I don't know if they're classed as business books or mind books, but there's, you know, The Subtle Art of Not Giving. There's like Shoe Dog.
I love
There's
Shoe
Oh, I love
Dog.
Shoe Dog.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's Stephen Bartlett's book that I've read. I've read Carl Cox, the DJ. I picked up quite a lot of things from him as well. So my books are really, really diverse, and it'll be things that I still technically I study. I'm part of the CIPR, which is the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. So every year I have to do my accreditation. Can't say that word today, to keep it. So I have to always constantly learn. So I'm always investing in myself. Plus I like to dance. So I look at all the things that I like to do. So I just do everything that I love basically. But the most important things is obviously festivals and holidays. And I'm going on my first 2-week holiday in September, so because I took a job, which I cannot wait.
For me, what have I don't know. Lots of different things. I think unfortunately it's very similar around books. I do a lot of reading. I think you know, like I was always bringing stuff in, wasn't I? And my most recent one, which I can't stop telling people about, actually, is the Big Magic. I don't know if anyone.
Oh my god, that looks like Amazon basket. Sorry.
Oh, you have to get it now.
Okay, sorry.
Today.
I'll find some.
Unreal, unreal. So it's by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Pray Love. And it's not Eat, Pray, Love. It's completely opposite to Eat, Pray, Love. But it's basically essentially she talks about living creatively, and it's not because I'm a creative individual or you're in drawing or art or film or anything like that. It's actually about being curious. And it's been really interesting for me because in two ways. One, it's kind of, I have always been living curiously and I just didn't really know it, which has been great. And then she's kind of given me permission almost to not care about what other people think about me living curiously, and how that, and the fact that Fudge is this national company that's come out of 18 months of just not existing. And you know, I had just a personal anecdote. I had a moment on Christmas Day. I literally had to take myself off because I suddenly realized that people were opening presents that someone else had given to them, and it was something that I'd handmade in my kitchen. Like that was, it's so, and even now, like I get goosebumps. It's intense. It's absolutely intense. From these grains of sugar, someone is opening presents that someone they love has given them, and I've made them. Like, and 20 months ago, this thing didn't exist. Like that whole journey is unreal for me.
God, you and I, two twins. Really.
There's a reason I brought you
Brother
together.
from another mother.
I can so relate to that because I'm a blogger. I get on TV to sell my skincare products sometimes on shopping channels and whatever, and I cry. There's no time I go on air that I do not cry. It's really embarrassing.
Oh, wow.
It's now a bet like, will she be, you know,
How long ago last? Like 20 minutes.
because somebody writes in or sends you a picture to say, this is what it's done. Here's a before and after. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. You know, just kind of go. So I can totally relate to that.
So I suppose back to the investment thing, the self-investment is me. I invest in my curiosity. So whether that's through books or through blogs or through speaking to people or whatever, and it's not necessarily money, it's time as well.
I need to shout you out because you're also the person that will be at the end of the phone willing to drop off a jar of cream at a time that was like, we're out of options here and we need something. So this is that's the other thing, and I want to shout that out because it's pretty awesome.
Your network, it's your people, your tribe, right?
Thank you so much.
It's dance. That's me. It's dance. That's me time.
I know.
It's just, you know, get in the lounge, turn the music up, get rid of everybody else, and just go absolutely bananas and dance.
I love that. I'm just going to jump in, and I'm going to, you will definitely answer, but I'm just going to invite the final two questions in, because I'm mindful of time, and we can actually talk forever. It seems like it's a great conversation. So please find two questions if you want to introduce yourselves, and just say at the same time, and then we'll kind of summary end in a big bang, basically.
Mine was just picking up on a point that Shalom said right at the end of the last discussion, which was how do you own it and how do you not deflect it?
Good question.
That's a great question yourself. I think did you have one? No, sorry, do you have one? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Go for it. But first, I need you to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Oliver. I'm 17 and I'm at school working with a show right now.
Amazing.
You will work for yourself, so burnout is something you can deal with quite well. How do you do it when I'm at school? So there's something I can't change. I have to go 6 hours a day.
Can I answer this?
Great question.
Quite interestingly, so I run my own business and I'm an entrepreneur. I don't work for myself. I work for my customers.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've got an event booked, or we've got some fudge that we need to make for a corporate event, I might be burnt out. I might be super stressed. I still have to make that fudge. I still have to deliver on something that I've committed to. So it's an interesting perspective for me to frame it in that way, because a lot of people kind of go, well, you work for yourself, so you can take 5 minutes and stuff, and we do have that luxury, absolutely we do, but not always. So for me, when those moments happen, it's about knowing I've got something to look forward to, so I block it out in my diary, even if it's half an hour. Sometimes I sit in my car with a coffee for half an hour in Willam Park or something, because I know nobody can reach me there and nobody knows where I am and that. So I know I have to do this thing and I've got to power through, and that unfortunately for me is my life sometimes, that you have to just power through and get things delivered because I'm committed to living up to the things that I've said I'm going to do. But knowing that I've got something that I enjoy coming up, whether it's half an hour or a day or a week or whatever, just knowing that's there helps me get through those moments.
For me, it's knowing your why. Why you do. I think we don't ask ourselves why a lot. Once you understand why you're doing something, the purpose of it, and what you're going to get out of it. Why am I investing all this time and effort? Knowing your why is so important, because it's easier to deal with the stresses that come with it, because you keep reminding yourself, I'm doing this because X or Y.
Also give yourself balance. Well, they have to do school, say 6 hours a day. So yeah. I know you obviously do cadets and stuff, but obviously whatever you enjoy outside of that, I'd say obviously make time to do that as well. So then obviously you know, like, okay, yeah, school's probably quite long, it's probably quite stressful and boring, but the end result is you'll get your grades to go to uni and do whatever. But then also you can be like, oh, at the weekend at least I'm going to go and do, I don't know, skiing or something. I don't know why I said skiing. But sorry, like, skiing I do well. But that's why, just have something to look forward to, I think, and try not to overwhelm yourself. And also, you can have breaks, so you kind of have that luxury as well. That's why I always say, take a break. Don't work like me.
I'd also just kind of echo that and say, I didn't put in healthy habits as a child or as an adult, and I'm now learning healthy habits because I've always been on, like, since I was a 3-year-old. I've never stopped, and that's just me because of my energy. And I used to be like, oh, I can do so much because I have a lot of energy. And I was like, but I do have a lot of energy, but energy also needs a recharge. So now I'm relearning to put those healthy habits in. So it may be half a day on a Friday where I don't do any work, or I might message my team to be like, listen, I'm going to send you messages, but don't reply back to me until Monday. Or I've told my team members to be like, at the end of July, just none of us are going to speak to each other for 3 days. We just don't speak to each other. You take the time off, I'll take the time off, and we'll have that kind of break, you know? So I guess my point is, if you know that you're going into a field, or that you yourself might be in this place where you are capable of burnout, because even to get to a point of burnout is a spectrum, right? Then put in those healthy habits now so that you can be better moving forward, and people around you are motivated and inspired by it. I think the work that I was in, I used to do consultancy in a tech firm. Everyone was just always rushing, and I was in London, so I was running. And now I'll go on holiday and people aren't running, and I'm like, why are people walking so slowly? You know, like it bothers you, and you're like, don't you have somewhere to go? Because I have somewhere to go. Even if it's the beach, I'm like, why are you like, go first. That's not
on the bread.
So you have to put those healthy habits in now, and you have to have non-negotiables. And that's actually something I learned. So kind of being mentored by Mantra, I learned about that, especially from a leadership perspective, is what's your non-negotiable. So my non-negotiable, as an example, is like 3 times a week, and that's my number. I will not take any calls or messages or anything after 6 p.m. and I'll make sure I have dinner with my loved ones. I will. Like, I don't care if the roof is burning down. I've set that in. I would also now, I have chronic migraines. So I go to my clients now and I'm like, look, just a FYI, I suffer from chronic migraines. So if I have to cancel a meeting maybe an hour before, or, you know, if I show up late to something, it's because of that reason. So let me manage your expectations and I can manage yours. So it's your non-negotiables, or small things like, you know, we talk about the gym. So for me, it's maybe sitting down and just reading a page of a book every day, like just 1 page. That's a non-negotiable for me. So I think we go back to the investment is what's your non-negotiable. It's such a great question. And I really just want to wrap it up and end it on the question that you asked, because I think that's a great final statement. And to paraphrase, it really was, how do you kind of show up and own it? You know, am I right in thinking that's kind of what it was? How do you show up and own it? And so and not deflect it. So your final pieces of advice before we really wrap this up. And yeah, I mean, it's been a great session already. So we'll do a final wrap up, but I'll leave it to you.
I'll defer to these ladies because I still deflect. I don't know. I just want to learn about how people do this. I still do it. This morning I did it, you know, It's like, hi, Oliver. And I'm thinking, yay. The sun's not out yet, you know, and I'm reflective. So I still do it. So it'd be great to hear how other people manage it.
It's an interesting one for me because I think as a woman and as an Indian woman, bragging isn't kind of our forte, and it feels like bragging, but actually it isn't. And so just being straight with myself about the fact that it isn't, it's someone else is coming over and going, I appreciate the effort you're putting in, I appreciate what you do, I see what you're going through. That for me is just looking at it from that perspective helps, and actually what it gives me the opportunity to do, I take it as an opportunity to share my excitement and joy for what I do, and just take it from that perspective. Really.
I'm an oversharer. I share. What I've realised is that I never used to share myself, including I used to hide myself, my sexuality, for example, or whatever it was, and it really impacts the way that I was with another person or with other people. So now I do overshare, but I share my stories so that it impacts someone else in a positive way. And I'll make sure I put that in every single piece of delivery that I'm doing, every bit of coaching that I'm doing, to make sure that I tell them authentically and ensure that they are not alone, that they are understanding that we've been through it, we're all the same as well. So I think that's how I try to share my excitement with what I do, is by sharing my knowledge and my stories as well.
Yeah, I do that, exactly that, because I was super uncomfortable with owning any success or it being anything to do with me. It's everybody else, it's always the team. And I've got some tough love on that from good quality role models who have no problem at all with that, by the way, owning that space. So I've learned to see it as, if I can help somebody through doing it, and I think, Odette, in your case, you can really help by owning it. So see it as role modeling, and then it takes the guilt away.
It's so interesting that we have to attach a nurture element for us to be able to be comfortable with it.
That's
It's
true.
so interesting.
Yeah.
But if that's what it takes, then let's do that.
Yeah. And also, I'll be honest, you know, I liberated myself, emancipated myself, so I'm a single mum, and you know, that brutal reality of paying the mortgage, and you know, it's all on me.
That'll open your eyes.
It is pretty good at getting you to just the foot behind the bum, to, you know, the curtain call, whatever I said, the foot behind, get through the door and just get rid of it, and just, you know, because you're doing it for a higher purpose. So whatever your purpose is, and you have a lot of purpose and a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question coming from you.
But I think it just shows, you know, I'm getting emotional.
Oh,
It's so empowering.
Well, Odette has, you know, just been awarded an MBE.
I know.
You picture of yourself on LinkedIn and you're like, I've got an MBE. Then you're owning it then.
But you did that.
You did
Yeah.
exactly.
We didn't do that. Nobody else did. You did that.
And a team of people did it.
Yeah,
you
you're
can
representing
say
it,
that,
so
yeah.
you need to be out there
Your
being the
vision.
queen.
And you're inspiring everyone. You're inspiring so many people by sharing it.
You ladies are, everyone in this room is inspired, aren't we? So,
Adele, can I share something? It might a little bit different approach to it, but I think, and I'm making a huge assumption of why you're struggling to own the success, and I think there's a little bit of rooted of where it came from. But there's something about enjoying that process and that environment. So even today, back of the room, right, just sitting and watching and enjoying and listening, that enjoyment is sometimes the bit of owning that success. Just enjoy it. And we don't allow ourselves to enjoy it, you know? When you're part of that tribe, part of that group, or you're getting the recognition and the praise, learn to go, yeah, this is good, this is where I'm meant to be, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And just breathe and enjoy that process for what it is without overthinking it.
yeah.
And that for me has been the difference with Fudge. So Sharon will know I've done 4 very different entrepreneur journeys before Fudge, and everyone has been hard and a hustle, and I have enjoyed it in some way, but there is something about what I do now that brings me pure, unadulterated joy. And I literally cannot explain it. It's not something I've aspired to do. It's not something I ever thought I would end up doing, but it's the only thing I ever want to do now. And so
I can't wait to try it.
But you know what? I really hope, and I do hope that what I feel for it comes across in the products and comes across in your experience of the company and of what we do. And actually, that helps me when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm still hand whisking a batch of fudge, or a company says no to me for like doing wholesale or whatever. It's hard, it's difficult, and I don't see my kids, but I love it and that helps. So you just have to embrace the journey, I think.
Well, thank you. So on that note, and we can absolutely talk for a living. I'm gonna have to say thank you so much for everyone here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I'm also gonna invite Sharon up. So especially for those of you who are watching online, and we've had, just so that you're aware, we've had hundreds of people watching online, and on TikTok, and on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So people are loving the conversation. Sharon is a part of NatWest, but fundamentally this Wine Network is your net worth, and the people that you follow, you shouldn't be afraid to ask. You know, we reached out, I'm going to say about 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yes, exactly.
3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and we were like, let's do something together. Impulsively, and it is impulsively, we were like, here's the date, and let's get it in the diary, and then we put it on Eventbrite, and then we were like, right, it's an Eventbrite, and there's a diary link, and people are signing up, now we need the panelists. And this week I was like, logistically, how can I actually get that? So I didn't really know how I was going to get here until last night. But we do the work because we have to do the work. We show up. So big thank you to Sharon and to NatWest for the space and for being here. And a big thank you to our panelists. So I'm just going to ask you for one final thing before we wrap up, and that's how can people connect with you on socials. So if we start with Rochelle and we end this way, and then I'm going to go and show off the live. But remember, you can connect with them on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the platforms that they're on, and keep asking questions because this is a recording, so we will be there to answer.
Perfect. So people can find me at Rochelle White Agency, and the only difference is Twitter, which is RWA__agency.
Fudge life. So nice and easy. 3 U's life, because we live the thug life.
NatWest Business and Ride Research UK. Find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, all the socials. But I also need to give a shout out to Debbie Lewis, who is my work wife. She's not here today, and I'm gutted to miss her. But yeah, follow NatWest Business, follow the Accelerator Hub, get involved. Everything we do is about this community and supporting this community, and a massive thank you all here. So over to you.
Excellent. So personally, there's only one Shalom Lloyd. So type my name. Handles at Naturally Tribal. So yeah, please follow Naturally Tribal. That'd be great.
I'm on LinkedIn. It's my main sort of social media following. So yeah, give me a link to the Montagara.
Snap, all about LinkedIn. It's Lucy, Lucy, Gallois, GALLOIS. There's only one thing to.